So people who are looking to join Microsoft or looking at how should we prepare for any companies like this. Another interesting thing about Microsoft or similar companies is they really don't ask you specific thing. Like example, if you're a .NET person, they will not ask you .NET or Java person.
So hello and welcome to another episode of Behind the Boardroom. So आज हमारे साथ है आकाश सोनी, who is a senior software engineer in Microsoft. But चीज़ें यहाँ ख़त्म नहीं हो रही है. कुछ लोग कहते हैं कि you have to be from IITs or IIMs in order to get a senior position in Microsoft. But then there is Aakash, जिन्होंने सिर्फ ना ये stereotype तोड़ा. Coming from a Tier-3 college, you found your way to Microsoft. So was it interest, passion, or you were like so disciplined, like some vision in your mind?
First of all, thanks Ritesh for having me, and it feels really wonderful to do something with somebody from my own city. We both come from Bhilai, so thanks and welcome to all viewers. So yeah, since you talked about the college and how I kind of made it to Microsoft, so just a little bit of journey. The college played a kind of big role in terms of how I kind of was shaped up. So when I went away from college, I moved to Bangalore. And there is a story about Bangalore, how I went to Bangalore. There was a kind of backstory to it. But let's suppose we landed in Bangalore. I started my job, and thanks to the college, kind of the background they provided, I was kind of good to get my first job in quite an early period. Within first month itself, off campus, I got my job. Then I got second job. Then I got third job. Then I picked one of them and I started on that. And I started with I have worked in many companies, but you can say like, they were somewhere I was interested in working them, but I think somewhere you find Microsoft, right? Like you want to be in the Microsoft, you want to be the Googles and all those things. And till 12 years of my career, I have been working all on Microsoft technologies like C# and ASP.NET, all those things. And then eventually I got a call from Microsoft. First I couldn't believe like why they are calling me. As you said, like even I had a similar notion that if they hire only from IITs or kind of NITs, but I got a call and then I started preparing for it. Luckily, I was able to appear for the interview, and I remember when I went there, it was 3 o'clock, and
in the morning,
in the afternoon.
In the afternoon, okay.
In the afternoon, I was slotted for 3 o'clock, and somehow because I live in Bangalore, so Bangalore is famous for its traffic.
Yeah.
So I had slogged myself almost 1.5 hours to reach there, the venue. The first thing I went there and told HR, I'm hungry. Can you give me lunch first? Then I'll appear for interview. And trust me, it may be just that HR that day. She helped me to kind of move around and get me coffee and get me food. Then I kind of fed myself, and I'm a pretty hungry guy and I'm a little grumpy when I'm hungry. So then I appeared for interview. I think we started around 3:15, 3:20. I left that campus around 9:30 in the night. So I had 4 to 5 back-to-back interviews with a little bit of coffee breaks and little breaks. But they drill you hard because they are trying to hire the best people. So they will do everything what is required to kind of get the best from you. And it's not that I think people, what they think is that you should know everything when you're appearing for interview. Yes, you should know most of the things, but it's again like your college exams. If you score 80 to 90, that's good enough for you to get decent grades. So yeah, I slipped in few questions, but I overall was able to crack it.
So we are going to talk about Microsoft, but first I want to know you as a student. Like you are in a Tier-3 college, right? You graduated back in 2005.
2005, yes.
So what was the mindset of that student? Like you were a college student, तो क्या चल रहा था दिमाग में कि क्या करना है मुझे after my graduation और मैं कहाँ अपने आप को देखता हूँ?
So Ritesh, I think the funny thing, I think which is prevalent right now is somehow we as a state have not got the recognition we should be getting, right?
Yeah.
So back in 2005, campus was kind of a very dreamy thing. Even for the colleges which were like 2 or 3, I think we had 3 or 4 major colleges, getting campus was a big thing. So we absolutely had no access to campus. I think some colleges got it to some companies, but at that time in our college we did not have campus. For seniors we had some campus, but for that year we didn't get any campus. So I was kind of in 2 minds what to do. I got an internal opportunity from within in Bhilai, and I was tempted to take it because as a Bhilaian you want to be in Bhilai, close to your parents. But as a kind of a guy who has studied well, you want to explore outside also. So thanks to one of my HODs, he helped me to move to, like he motivated me to move to Bangalore and tried seeking the job. And as you said, the mindset was, I was one of the college toppers. Like I had I think I was the university ranker as well. I'm
amazing.
Saying that for a reason. I'm not bragging here. Why I'm saying this is I was very high on confidence that कि मेरी तो job लग ही जाएगी. Like मेरी तो नहीं लगेगी तो किसकी लगेगी, बिकॉज यू आर इन भिलाई एंड देन यू फील लाइक आसपास के लोग, एंड देन यू compete with them, and then you feel like you are kind of superior. And I think I was a little extra overconfident that time. But when I reached Bangalore, then you are competing with the best of the best, right?
Yeah.
I remember one of the first interviews I appeared, it was a walk-in. It was in a playground, like about 3,000 or 4,000 people were kind of coming in. People were jumping over the gates. Then I realized, dude, it's not that easy. First of all, the struggle is to get to the interview, write the written test, getting a call.
And it was back in 2005.
2005, yes. So that time off-campus used to be a big thing. Like there used to be off-campus, but you're not competing with only Bhilai or like Bangalore. There was like a lot of Rajasthan, Assam. Everybody is coming coming to Bangalore. So the hostel where I lived, there were 300 Rajasthanis there. Like I used to live with 300 Rajasthanis. I used to share bunkers with them and all. So yeah, coming back to the ye wala part ki job wala. So first month was very disappointing. I appeared for maybe 3 to 4 interviews. We couldn't get through because forget about interviews. The HR itself used to reject it. Okay, your name is not in the sheet. We didn't call you, so you can go back. But luckily, then my first job I got it in kind of a coincident way. I just tagged along with a friend, and the HR allowed us to appear, and I got the first job. Then luckily I got second, third within like 2-3 weeks of time. I got 3 and then picked whatever was the best for me. And that was the start of my first job.
Like I'm curious to know, like what was the package at that time in 2005?
Oh, dude, don't tell me about package. So the first job I joined was 1.56 lakhs. That was 2005.
That was
one
around
of the company.
like 12 to 13,000 a
Yeah,
month?
so in hand was 10,000.
In hand was 10,000.
10,000. And I was not like super happy, but yeah, it was like at least I have a job.
10,000 in which city?
Bangalore. Nothing. My rent itself, like the hostel rent itself was 1,500 there.
The people who are watching from Bangalore, like 10,000 rupees in Bangalore, like 15,000, 20,000 are the rents there right now.
My apartment fetches 45,000 rent right now. So 2 BHK, it's a small apartment here. So I was like, yeah, so 10,000. Then as you said, like I was in that job for almost 1 month. And then I got another opportunity while being in that company. So I moved to another company. So I've been like hopping in companies right from the start itself. So that was slightly better, and it was a bigger industry name. Oracle had just recently acquired that company. And we got a notion that since Oracle has acquired, maybe our packages will be kind of increased. Like there was a rumor that, okay, it will be doubled and all that. Okay. So I joined that company. So that was 2 lakhs. And
it happened or not?
It didn't happen.
It didn't happen.
Yeah, so since we're like 6,000 employees in that company, they said, okay, we can't increase for 6,000. So they had done for like a small company which had 400 employees. So we were under that notion कि हमारा भी बढ़ जाएगा, but नहीं हुआ. But it was a good company, provided me good opportunity. And then 2 साल बाद लगा कि इन्हें पैसे कम पड़ रहे हैं. I have ambitions, I have plans. घूमना उमना है, पैसे चाहिए. Then I started looking around, found a second company, third company, fourth company. So till I reached Microsoft, I have like passed on to 5 companies. Like I moved around. So before Microsoft, Dell was my company, and I spent decent amount in Dell, like 4.5 years. Microsoft has been good, like almost 6 years now.
Almost 6 years.
Close to 6 years.
So I'll go to that aspect, but I want to know one thing. Like you just said that you are a college topper, university. Yeah. You have got ranked on the university.
I didn't measure it, but I think I should be there. Like I never checked that. When I went to Bangalore, then somebody said that, okay, since you got this many marks, you must be in the university toppers list. But I never bothered to check.
So how was your college life? क्या आप एकदम तो nerd type से थे कि जो typical engineering
नहीं यार, हम लोग
चीजें होती थी.
I think I should say this, like the Bhilai people understand और North Indians understand. हम लोग एकदम लंगरिया टाइप के लोग बोलते हैं ना, मस्ती कर रहे हैं, मूवी भी जा रहे हैं. बट आई थिंक समवे शुरू में लगता था कॉलेज ना थोड़ा सा हम लोग को पनिश कर रहा है कि बहुत पढ़ाता लिखाता है. शुरू में थोड़ा अजीब लगता था. एंड आई वॉज लिटिल अटेंशन सीकर, एंड आई विल बी वेरी ऑनेस्ट अबाउट, आई एम स्टिल एन अटेंशन सीकर. सो स्लोली आई गॉट द पैटर्न की कॉलेज में पढ़ाई कैसे चलती है. लाइक 1-2 सेमेस्टर बाद समझ आ गया था कि बहुत नहीं पढ़ना है. सो आई कम फ्रॉम CBSE बैकग्राउंड, वी हैड टू स्टडी लॉट्स एंड लॉट्स. कॉलेज आई फाउंड इट्स ईजियर, लाइक यार 5 यूनिट है, 4 यूनिट पढ़ लो ठीक ठाक, एंड उसमें भी ये पढ़ लो तो शायद तुम्हारा काम हो जाएगा, है ना. सो आई स्टार्टेड गेटिंग डिसेंट मार्क्स. तो धीरे धीरे फिर मुझे समझ आने लगा कि कॉलेज 1-2 सब्जेक्ट को छोड़ दो तो बाकी सब काइंड ऑफ ईजी टू स्टडी, एंड टीचर्स डिड ए गुड जॉब एटलीस्ट इन फिनिशिंग द सिलेबस. तो जैसे तुम कह रहे हो, हाँ, लेकिन ये था कि फर्स्ट बेंचर था. 1-2 बार ऐसा हुआ कि बाकी दोस्त लोग होते थे पीछे में, तो कभी मेरे को भी वो एक टेम्पटेशन आता था कि चलो पीछे बैठते हैं. व्हेन आई यूज्ड टू गो बैक, देन टीचर्स विल बी लाइक, आकाश सामने आओ. एंड समटाइम्स इफ आई एम सिटिंग टू इन फ्रंट ऑफ और सॉरी बिसाइड्स अ नॉटी किड, और लाइक ऐसे बोलते हैं ना कि इसके बाजू मत बैठो, टीचर विल स्लोली से कि आकाश इधर बैठो. तो आई वॉज ब्लेस्ड टू हैव लाइक दिस काइंड ऑफ अटेंशन ऑफ टीचर्स ऑल्सो, कि थोड़ा ध्यान रखते थे कि इधर बैठो उधर बैठो. बट आई वॉज नॉट टोटली नर्डी एट आई टोटली रिमेंबर मेरे पड़ोसी लोग लगता था कि मेरे को शायद पेपर मिल जाता है क्योंकि मैं पढ़ता ही नहीं था। मतलब मुझे ऐसा लगता था कि कॉलेज में ठीक ठाक पढ़ लो 50-60% जॉब हो जाता था। और मैं थोड़ा इस मामले में नर्डी था कि असाइनमेंट्स टाइम पे करता था। और एक और भी यार लाइक काफ़ी लड़कियां मेरे से असाइनमेंट्स मांगती थी तो वो टेंशन भी होता था कि यार असाइनमेंट्स फिनिश करो, उनको बांटना होगा। तो
no, I'm not at all shocked because you look so good right now. I just want to see how you look in
नहीं
college.
तब तो आई थिंक थैंक्स फॉर द कॉम्प्लीमेंट, बट तब तो मैं बहुत ही बकवास लगता था, ऐसा लगता था नो ड्रेसिंग सेंस एंड ऑल। बट दैट वाज दैट एरा राइट, तब गोविंदा हरा नीला कपड़ा पहन के भी ठीक लगता था, हम लोग भी ठीक लग जाते थे ऐसे। सो यस, आई थिंक दैट पार्ट वेयर आई वाज डूइंग माई असाइनमेंट्स एंड कॉलेज स्टडी थोड़ा ठीक ठाक, डिड 70% ऑफ द जॉब। और फिर तुम्हारे एक दो दोस्त होते हैं जो बोलते हैं कि यार प्लीज़ ये वाला पढ़ा दे, तो उनको पढ़ाने के चक्कर में भी तुम करते थे,
रिवीजन हो जाता है।
रिवीजन हो जाता
हाँ,
था।
हाँ।
तो और हमारा सर्कल अच्छा था, लाइक वी ऑल वेर गुड काइंड ऑफ किड्स, बट लेकिन मस्ती भी खूब करते थे। हाँ, ये सब नहीं किया कि बम नहीं फोड़ा है, वो पार्ट रह गया।
करना चाहिए था।
करना चाहिए, बट लेकिन हाँ थोड़ा नॉटी थे, बट बंक वंक नहीं किया ज़्यादा, क्योंकि बंक करने का जुगाड़ ही नहीं था इसको। अगर अब तुम भी अभी जिस कॉलेज में पढ़ रहे हो, बंक करना इतना आसान नहीं होता किसी भी कॉलेज में, इसीलिए।
आसान है, आज भी आसान है।
अच्छा,
चल मूविंग ऑन, जैसे टाइम्स हैव चेंज्ड अ लॉट, राइट? You graduated in 2005. I'll graduate in 2025. Like after 2 decades.
20 साल है, 2 साल, 2 decades.
आपसे 20 साल बाद मैं ग्रेजुएट करने वाला हूँ। तो उस टाइम के इंटरव्यूज, लाइक 2005, उस टाइम के जो इंटरव्यूज होते थे और आज जिस टाइप के इंटरव्यूज होते हैं, क्या डिफरेंस लगता है?
See, I think I have appeared for 1 or 2 fresher interviews, तो थोड़ा बहुत आइडिया है। लेकिन हमारे टाइम में क्या होता था, ग्रुप डिस्कशन वाज अ मेजर फिल्ट्रेशन फैक्टर एंड योर कम्युनिकेशन। क्योंकि आई थिंक आई एम नॉट श्योर अबाउट हाउ द करंट इंडस्ट्री ट्रेंड इज, बिकॉज आई डोंट इंटरव्यू फ्रेशर्स नाउडेज, आई इंटरव्यू लैटरल्स मोस्टली। तो तब ये होता था कि तुम्हें अगर टेक्निकल नॉलेज ओके है, अगर तुम्हारा क्यूरिकुलम नॉलेज ठीक ठाक है, जैसे कहते हैं डेटा स्ट्रक्चर्स एंड ऑल दैट, और तो ठीक होता था, लाइक यू आर ओके एंड योर कम्युनिकेशन यूज्ड टू बी वेरी काइंड ऑफ अ बिग फैक्टर। आई थिंक दैट इज वेयर आई हैड अ लिटिल स्लाइट यूएसपी बिकॉज आई वर्कड ऑन माई कम्युनिकेशन अ बिट more than the other students. Other people were working more towards technicality of it. And what happens is, even if you know a lot of stuff and if you're not able to explain, तो फिर वो मज़ा नहीं आता ना, लाइक अगर तुम बता ही नहीं पा रहे हो कि उसको क्या हो रहा है, तो तब टेक्निकल बट कम्युनिकेशन को बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट था, एंड स्पेशली इन बैंगलोर, हाउ यूर एबल टू काइंड ऑफ कन्वे योर थॉट्स, एंड ग्रुप डिस्कशन यूज्ड टू बी अ मेजर फैक्टर. Everybody used to have group discussion. I'm not sure whether now group discussion is a thing or not. अभी भी होता है. So and that was one, I think one other filtration way, right? अगर तुम 15 लोग का इंटरव्यू लोगे तो टाइम लगेगा, 15 लोग में ग्रुप डिस्कशन किए, यू कैन इमीडिएटली फिल्टर आउट 10 लोगों को बाहर निकाल दिया.
ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ जस्ट कम्युनिकेशन स्किल्स, कि आपको इंग्लिश बोलनी है, कम्युनिकेशन उस टाइम तो मतलब होता होगा कि आपको इंग्लिश बोलनी आती है कि नहीं आती है.
बहुत,
आज कम्युनिकेशन स्किल्स से बहुत वास्ट चीज हो जाती है.
अभी तो यार कम्युनिकेशन देखो, लाइक आई हैव अ 10-year-old डॉटर, एंड व्हाट हैपेंस इज they speak English as fluently, like हम लोग जिस जमाने में बोल भी नहीं पाते थे.
Correct.
And sometimes when I get her to my native, like अब यहाँ पे लेके आता हूँ तो रिश्तेदार लोग सोचते हैं कि इंग्लिश बोल लेती है, but it's a very common thing back in Bangalore or like in many
metro
यहाँ
cities.
भी even भिलाई में भी अगर तुम्हारे बच्चे, अगर किसी के बच्चे पढ़ रहे हैं अच्छे स्कूल में, English is kind of a prerequisite nowadays, and it's more of a company or you can say the society around how you do. But हमारे टाइम में टेक्निकलिटी तो थोड़ा बहुत होता था, बट आई विथ माई एक्सपीरियंस व्हाट आई ऑब्जर्व्ड इज योर कम्युनिकेशन यूज्ड टू बी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. टेक्निकल तो लोग निकाल लेते थे रिटर्न थोड़ा बहुत करके, बट ये कम्युनिकेशन प्लस HR राउंड में जाके मोस्टली लोग क्रॉस नहीं कर पाते थे. एंड दैट्स वेयर आई सॉ द स्ट्रगल, स्पेशली द हॉस्टल वेयर आई स्टेड. देयर वर लॉट ऑफ पीपल हु आर फ्रॉम नॉन इंग्लिश बैकग्राउंड and they struggled. But then what happened is, like we had a good group, we kind of got together and kind of understood the pattern कि बहुत ज़्यादा नहीं बोलना है. Like अगर ग्रुप डिस्कशन भी है तो मैं 1.5 मिनट बोलना है, या 1.5 मिनट के लायक तो इंग्लिश कर लेते हैं. इंटरव्यू में 10-12 क्वेश्चन आते हैं, इसको प्रिपेयर कर लेते हैं. That's how usually people do. So kind of a cheat sheet प्रिपेयर करके we worked on for some guys as a group.
And you know, I believe कि पिछले 2 decades से शायद ये चीज़ चेंज अभी भी नहीं हुई है. Like you talk about metro cities and tier 1, tier 2 colleges. I have been to multiple IIMs and IITs, so I see that the natural language that they talk in is in English. क्योंकि वहाँ पे all over India से आ रहे हैं, South India से आ रहे हैं, North India से आ रहे हैं, तो सबका English is the only language everyone knows. But क्या हो रहा है ना, यहाँ पे जो tier 3 colleges हैं, जो थोड़ा मिडिल में है या ईस्टर्न साइड पे, तो क्या होता है ना, they have 2 perceptions. First, उनके पास वो सर्कल नहीं है बोलने वाला. They don't have that circle. And even if they try to ना, they get like अंग्रेज क्यों बन रहा है. This is the basic thing that they get even today. And the second thing is they believe कि होते होते हो जाएगा. अभी तो 4 साल है, इंटरव्यू का टाइम आते तक बोलना सीख जाएंगे. This is still the perception.
That's an interesting point, Ritesh. And I somehow found a hack. क्योंकि तुम जो बोल रहे हो बिल्कुल सही है. Like if you start speaking English, others like क्यों भी English झाड़ रहा है, they start kind of teasing you. I think sometimes it's more of insecurity from within, like which they tell you कि तू भी मत बोल. So this was similar seen in our case also, like till 4th 5th semester. Since I was from English medium, my written skills were nice, but the oral skills or your verbal skills were not that good. Like I can know, but I was not able to express exactly. Then somebody guided me कि start expressing, start speaking in front of mirror, like usual everybody says, right? But I felt कि वो भी उतना अच्छा काम नहीं कर रहा है. Then I found a hack. उसी टाइम क्या हुआ था, Reliance का सिम ये हुआ था free call वाला. Okay. Then what I understood is, if I call customer care, right, they don't know me, so I can't be embarrassed with them. So what I used to do, I used to call customer care and discuss a random topic कि ये phone में ये काम नहीं कर रहा, वो नहीं कर रहा है English में. And then that's where the conversational skills, like if somebody is saying, you have to respond to that. That's where I kind of refined slightly my English, and luckily I got 2 or 3 people who were kind of with same mindset. उनके साथ जो बोल के बहुत खराब बोलते थे शुरू में, but धीरे धीरे improve होते गया. And I'm thankful to one of the coaching institutes I joined. They helped me a lot in terms of toning how you should speak your English. Like देखो एक चीज़ है, I think you guys are smart enough nowadays. Speaking and communication is different things.
These two
right?
are different things.
You just speak blabber, but yeah, the communicating is your message landing to the other person or not?
If he's understanding it or not.
Understanding it or not. As you mentioned, South India, even though people in South India are usually exposed to English, they also struggle to kind of communicate. So speaking is different than communication. That's what I want.
I've been to Chennai. Like communicating there is so difficult.
It is, right? Yeah.
मेरे को नारियल पानी चाहिए. I need a नारियल पानी, and it was very hard for me to explain them why I need नारियल. But it is very hard to communicate with them because they have their own accent and everything.
They have, like, see, forget about Chennai. Like I'll tell you, when I first time traveled to US, I had to order a Subway burger. Have you been to Subway?
Yeah,
I think Subway is very common.
Common.
I wasn't exposed to Subway before going to US. Like Subway was not a very usual choice for me to kind of go to Bangalore. जब मैं पहली बार गया, and then there is a kind of a Native American sitting there, and she's speaking in totally different language, and she embarrassed me a lot. Like I felt embarrassed, to be honest, कि यार मैं एक burger भी order नहीं कर पा रहा हूँ, because they have a very fixed sequence, right? Like 6 foot long, and then what do you want, and then it's salads or not. Imagine in their accent, like. So I felt very bad, and this is a very famous scene in Sridevi की एक movie थी English.
Yeah.
That I think most of us resonate to that scene because हम सबके साथ कहीं ना कहीं हो चुका है. So that's where you understood कि ठीक है, it's okay not to, ऐसा हो सकता है. It's not just you, and everybody has a different accent and way to speak. Like if you join US calls or like UK calls,
yeah, I've been there.
शुरू में तुम्हें समझ नहीं आएगा, धीरे धीरे you'll get used to it, and I think it happens with Netflix and all also, right? If you watch movie, शुरू में थोड़ा अजीब लगता है, then you get hang of it. हो जाता है.
That's one of the things. So yeah, that was really interesting to know. So let's come back to the topic and let's bring Microsoft once again to the game.
Yeah.
जैसे 2005 की बात होती है, उस टाइम का I believe 2005 में Microsoft was not a very big name in India.
In India, yes.
In India,
they were just setting their
big,
foot, mostly.
It was not a very big name in India. At that time, there were giants like Tata, Infosys, and everything. So
they will say popular giants.
Popular giants in India. Like everyone wants कि अगर job लगनी चाहिए तो इन्हीं companies में लगनी चाहिए. Was there a same perception with you or regarding your family?
It did happen. Like example, my father and mother, my mother is from Durg and my father was from a kind of a village. So he was aware कि ठीक है ये सब चीजें पापा BSP में काम करते थे. Like BSP is Bilai Steel Plant for people who don't know. He was happy I got an IT job and even though I was not paying handsomely, it was okay. He was happy कि चलो ठीक है इतना मिल रहा है. But his office colleagues or like managers, they were saying Infosys में नहीं हुआ. Then one day he comes back and I'm sure my father didn't know much about Infosys, but he comes and asks me कि थोड़ा मेहनत का और करता तो तेरा Infosys में हो जाता ना. I was like, Papa, I'm in a good company. Like it's same level as Infosys. So this is where I think the popular culture is there. Like I'll tell you this. Few years back, for my sister's wedding, we came here. I was working in Microsoft. My wife is working in Wipro. People were like congratulating her more because she was a more popular person, because Wipro is very familiar name, right? Microsoft, like I had to explain, acha, Microsoft.
It's a Bill Gates company.
Yes, there is no comparison at all. Like if you say it's not an apple and oranges case.
Yeah.
But yes, Wipro being a popular or household name garnered more attention than Microsoft. So it happens. But the people who know, they know like Microsoft is Microsoft.
So at that time when you were working in that company, the first company that you just mentioned, so at that time did you think like you'll make it to Microsoft?
Never. I think being in Infosys or Accenture was kind of a slight dream. Like Accenture used to be kind of a popular name after Infosys. Okay. Then you will think like, okay, Cognizant में हो जाए, Accenture में हो जाए. तब दिमाग में आते भी नहीं थे. तब लगता था कि यार माइक्रोसॉफ्ट वगैरह में सिर्फ ओनली IITs get selected, like the people from IITs get selected. But yeah, now I think this notion has changed. Even though Microsoft recruits only from premium colleges mostly, I can't make an official statement, but yeah, to best of my knowledge, they only select from regional colleges or IITs. But yeah, if you're a lateral person, if you're experienced and have a good skill set, they do call you for interview, and the interview process is rigorous. And if you can make it, yeah, you can be selected. You will be selected. So people who are looking to join Microsoft or looking at how should we prepare for any companies like this, make your DSA concepts nice and be good at what you're doing. And if the skill set matches theirs, like what they require, then you will be hired. Another interesting thing about Microsoft or similar companies is they really don't ask you specific thing. Like example, if you're a .NET person, they will not ask you .NET or Java person. They interview on concepts. That's where the DSA comes in picture. Like you should be good with your data structures, your algorithms and all. What language you want to code, it's totally up to you. Why? Because they believe that कि अगर तुमको ये आता है तो तुम यहाँ की सीख ही लोगे. And there's a funny thing which I always tell people, like 12 years I worked outside Microsoft. I worked in purely Microsoft technologies, ASP.NET, C#. Now I'm in Microsoft. I'm working mostly for non-Microsoft things. Like I'm working on Scala, which is kind of a sibling of Java.
Yeah.
So yes, because the world has changed and you kind of work on what is required. Even though we use everything is Microsoft, like we use a lot of Azure resources nowadays. The AI is making a big footprint. We are using that. But yes, the core language I write is it's a little bit of C#, but mostly Scala, which is a non-Microsoft or you can say open source kind of thing, functional language.
So since you have mentioned this कि वो लोग DSA पूछते हैं, अभी हाल फिलहाल में एक रील बहुत वायरल जा रही थी. There was this guy who used to claim that Microsoft called him and he was like, no, I'm not going to come to your interview. आप बहुत DSA पूछते हो. Then Microsoft again called him. अब बोले ठीक है आप DSA मत देना, आप सिर्फ वेब डेवलपमेंट का बता दो. Was it a publicity stunt or there is some reality in everything?
To be honest, I don't know that guy much. Like I know he's a popular social figure. I think he's an influencer or whatever. But I don't think Microsoft is like desperate to hire somebody like him, right?
Like मैं वही सोचता हूँ कि Microsoft के पास लोगों की कमी थोड़ी होगी.
नहीं यार, बहुत ऐसे काफी लोग हैं. And you may be good kind of educator or something, but it does not mean you can fit in kind of in this industry also. So I feel it is a publicity stunt. और क्या होता है कि लोग पूछते थोड़ा ज़्यादा लोग exaggerate करके बता देते हैं कि ये थोड़ा सा viral हो जाता है ना. Nowadays people's kind of everybody's kind of aim is to get viral. I think he might be needing publicity and he might have said that. Even though I don't know him, so I can't comment exactly. But in general, believing in Microsoft philosophy, I don't think they will run behind someone. Otherwise, you have to be like really good, like Sam Altman or somebody like that. Yeah, I don't think they will hire someone.
That Satya Nadella will call you himself, like come aboard.
They have better things to do here. Like I feel I can't.
Have you met
comment.
him?
Satya? No, we haven't met.
In any event or any seminar or something?
No, he mostly is in Seattle or Redmond. Like Redmond is our base.
You've been to US, right?
I have been, yeah. I have been to Seattle and Redmond. But yeah, unfortunately we couldn't meet him. He was there, I think, sometime back in Mumbai or somewhere. I'm not sure. But most probably we'll be going next year sometime. We hope to meet him. We look forward to meeting him. It's a great thing.
Yeah, it's one of the national celebrities, so why not? So coming to the second thing, you have just mentioned like Microsoft and all the other giants like Amazon or Google, they go through a very rigorous interview process. So please break down this rigorous. What is this rigorous?
Rigorous, I'll tell you. Like example, with your knowledge of industry, what do you see a role for a 5 year, 6 year guy? Like if somebody hires you, what do you think it will be there? What he'll be doing it? Like let's take a basic programming setup or something. So what you think you'll be doing, and if you're hired by, let's suppose, any XYZ company, a non-Microsoft company.
Okay, so let me tell you my experience. Like a year later, like in January, February, I cleared the shortlisting round and the assignment round of a very big company from London.
Okay.
So there were 3 interviews that I have given. The first interview was a basic introduction with the HR and everything, like tell me about yourself. And the second was an assignment session, where we sat there, he gave me a live assignment, like do it right now. And the time bound, there was no time bound. Like take as much time as you can, but give me the best product that you have. Luckily, I've cleared that interview as well. And the third interview was with a corporate psychologist.
Oh, that's interesting.
And that corporate psychologist is a PhD from Harvard's.
Okay.
In psychology, in corporate psychology.
This is modern recruiting.
Yeah. So before the interview, I was doing some background check of that person. And after that, I was quite scared. Before that, I was not scared because I know if I can just give some sugar-coated answers and I can just make it through. But when I did that thing, so I was quite scared at that time. Like, how will I get over this guy who is a corporate psychologist and is not with a year, 5, 6 years of experience? पता नहीं मेरे जैसे हज़ारों को उसने इंटरव्यू किया होगा. So what are the unique things that we can do? So that interview went for like 2 to 3 hours.
Oh, that's amazing.
He asked me some really, really deep questions and everything was right there. Like he asked me like, what do you think is the biggest skill of this generation, the current generation that we are in? At that time I could have said like, yeah, I think coding is something that you should have. But at that time, the answer that I gave was adaptability. Exactly. Because we are living in a continuously changing era. Like you never know what's going to come tomorrow. And if you're not going to adapt it, how will you survive?
Exactly.
So these are some of the answers, and there were multiple questions that he asked. And that went through like 2 to 3 hours. Even he was asking me, Ritesh, are you tired? I was like, no, not yet. And luckily I've made that third run also. I was into the, what do you call it, probation period. I was into the probation period. And unfortunately, after that, I was not able to make that cut. And I was among the top 5 which was selected from India.
Oh, that's amazing.
I made it to top 5, and then our entire team from London were monitoring us. Everyone was English. None of them was Indian. Only 5 of us were there, and only 2 have to be selected after the probation period. Unfortunately, I was not able to make it. But yeah, that is what rigorous it is for me. That they test you on your psychological skills, they test you on your personal skills, soft skills, and hard skills that you have attained. So the entire process was, I will consider rigorous.
That's where I think you said the word right, adaptability, right? That's where I think a few minutes back I said, they really don't want you to be in .NET or C# expert or a Java expert. They want somebody who's open to adapt. Like example, if you are being interviewed for one thing and tomorrow if my requirement changes, like there is very common across that you may be hard for one team, but suddenly you may be kind of needed to be fit in another team. Mm-hmm. So are you flexible enough, adaptable enough to kind of take that role? ये होते रहता है काफ़ी. तो when I say rigorous, what happens is they try to check your example at my experience level. Let's suppose I hold experience right now of 18 years. Let's suppose 6 years plus, say mostly they start asking you system design. System design is an example. I think you guys know most of it, like you guys are smart enough. But they might ask you if you want to design a new Instagram, how will you design it? Mm-hmm. So they don't ask you to kind of totally create an Instagram. But let's suppose Instagram में तुम्हें stories डालनी है, post डालना है, तो क्या करोगे? And then you will be like, okay, हाँ ये कर देंगे. Then how you handle the load? If you're like David Beckham, if you're making a post, if 3 million, like let's suppose Virat Kohli, I think he has how many?
400 million.
400 millions. If he's making a post, 400 million post जाएगा, how you handle the load? Mm-hmm. Do you know load balancing? Do you know the ways how to make the API secure? You don't want Virat Kohli's details to be leaked out in public. Yeah. So the security, the scalability, the performance, hardware cost. Example, if you're choosing a SQL server, for example, or an SQL-based relational database, will it scale enough? Are you using a kind of a lake or kind of an elastic search? So these are the keywords you have to know. I think if you go and search in web, you will find a lot of leads. So this is one mostly system design they ask. Second round mostly will be your in-hand coding skills. Sometimes people flip otherwise, like they'll start with coding interview first, and then they do system design. Depends on like company to company, and sometimes teams also kind of do a little bit flexible exercise. So coding is mostly about your search and sorting algorithms, which sound very trivial when you are studying in college. तुम्हें लगेगा यार क्या stack क्यों है, but पूरी ज़िंदगी उसी पे चलती है. How you are effectively using. So basically the idea is, if you are doing any program, how much memory are you utilizing. Example के लिए अगर हमें पानी दे दिया जाए, मान लो 10 बॉटल है, तुम थोड़ा सा पानी पी के छोड़ देते हो, कहाँ रखते हो पानी. Basically memory management and all that. So that's where they want to check. So searching and sorting are the kind of key things they will check. Graphs, like example, अगर तुम maps use करते हो, तो rather than using a linear structure, should you use a graph or a tree? Those type of things. कई बार coding round 2 बार कर लेते हैं, ताकि अगर experience ज़्यादा है तो थोड़ा पहले, फिर उसके बाद एक और round. So mostly they are technical based. As you were saying, psychologically what happens is they put a psychological pressure on you that now you have to do three sort of this difficult questions in like 30 minutes or 50 minutes का bracket. So that's a psychological parameter they put. ये 3-4 round हो जाता है. Then Microsoft, at least for me, they also do a fitment round, which is like you said, psychological kind of thing, where at least we don't have, I don't know about new process, but at least मेरे time में और mostly हमारे time में नहीं होता. One of the senior managers will talk to you, and even though if you're done technically exceptional, but if he feels that you're not fit for the company with your attitude and all, they will reject you. So that's also one of the factors. And this all is available in web, so I'm not saying something on my side. So technical design and all this, but your temperament and attitude, adaptability, they do matter. And then obviously there will be HR where you have salary negotiations and everything. There will be background check. And I think most of the companies, even like Microsoft, they are very thorough with their background check. you'll be like to recheck that whatever experience you have quoted is correct or not. Did you go to the actual college or not? Like some people do kind of fake profiles and all. So yeah, so then with these companies, it is very difficult to kind of cheat them.
Yeah, how will you cheat Microsoft? Like
Yes,
you cannot create a fake profile and just get into that.
Because I think the question I was coming to, Ritesh, was, so if you take from XYZ company, like I meet some people with other colleagues, right? So somebody is a project manager, somebody is a tech lead, or somebody is a QA lead. Mostly in companies like Microsoft, and I think similar companies, which we have some companies, you are supposed to play multiple roles. So that's why we are called as software engineers. So you're supposed to, we have no testing team. So we are supposed to test. Most of the times we'll have product managers and all, but as an engineer, you're supposed to be capable enough to at least do the initial round of requirement gathering or brainstorming and all that. So when they hire you, they're typically hiring you for 2 to 3 roles. Like you have to wear multiple hats. Even though you're a code developer, you have to test your code. You might have to do a little bit of a product manager role. You have to deploy your code. Like there will be no site engineer who will help you
deploying that.
है ना? तो इससे क्या होता है कि then you're investing, तो यार उनको एक सही बंदा चाहिए जो सारे काम कर सके. That's why most of the companies pay well also. So लोगों को क्या लगता है कि यार हो गया, बहुत पैसे मिल रहे हैं, बट तुम्हारा रोल और डिमांड भी, अकाउंटेबिलिटी बहुत होती है. काम में भी आई थिंक कुछ स्टार्टअप्स ज़्यादा अच्छा कर रहे हैं, कुछ और कंपनी कर रहे हो, बट विद दिस कंपनीज यू हैव लॉट ऑफ अकाउंटेबिलिटी एंड यू आर वर्किंग ऑन बिग स्केल सिस्टम्स. I was working for a kind of last my company was as a major e-com giant. So imagine अगर तुम, there was a very famous use case where I was not able to find one of the search items. Like we were working for that company. हम लोग उसको SKU बोलते हैं. SKU is basically you try to, let's suppose तुम्हें LG की टीवी खरीदनी है, तो LG की टीवी का एक SKU होगा, एक आइडेंटिफायर है, बेसिकली उसका गुड समझ लो जिससे. अब वो नहीं दिख रहा था. I was like यार एक तो नहीं दिख रहा, it's okay ना यार करके. बाद में they realized that particular SKU gets sold every minute, maybe 10 items, and that was like a $20,000 item. So then you imagine, like अगर छोटा सा glitch करते हो तो you will cost company that much. So here the accountability is high, and that's where they need to be more responsible. That's why they want somebody to be at a kind of a very due diligent person who understands the whole flow, psychologically, as you said, technically also and psychologically also.
Let's go back in time once again.
Okay.
Like you started with a 10,000 package.
Yes.
And that's what your time you decided to move to Bangalore. Was it something that you, मतलब क्या thought process चल रहा कि 10,000 में बैंगलोर में survive कैसे करेंगे?
See, इतना तो पता था कि temporary है, and I think to be honest I was very high on my confidence in terms of कि सिर्फ temporary है, because slowly what happened, I got placed initially when the other companies, the bigger companies like SAP or like other people who used to pay like much more, they hadn't started hiring. Then I slowly started seeing कि मेरे friends को ज़्यादा मिल रहा है, मेरे से 3 गुना 4 गुना ज़्यादा मिल रहा है. Then you feel like यार गलत हो गया क्या अभी.
Being a college topper.
Yeah. So, and I'll come back to the college topper thing. So then there is always this greed to kind of switch. But ये भी होता है कि यार तुम फर्स्ट 1-2 ईयर में स्विच करोगे, then you carry a bad reputation. So I was like ठीक है, 2 साल तक इस कंपनी में रहते हैं, like learn भी करना है. I think ऐसे तुम फ्रेशर की तरह नहीं जा सकते हर जगह. So I learned, and then I had a target कि अगले 2 साल में इस पैकेज को डबल करना है. And I ended up kind of tripling it. So I had this always soft targets of doubling the money in every 2 years. So money is definitely a factor. Then once you take like more money, people will offer you more responsibilities. So I became tech lead in like very initial stages of my life, like 3rd or 4th year. Then I became kind of a mini architect in another company. So yeah, with money comes responsibilities also.
Yeah.
And it's coming back to the college topper thing. After a point, your topper, your IITs, they don't matter much. Like they will matter as a stepping stone. Example, somebody from IIT will get placed in a company very easily.
Yeah.
Because of campus and the other thing. And definitely most of the people are good because of their background. To some extent, it still is valid, the college topper and coming from a prestigious college, coming to the industry. After a certain point of time, it kind of balances out. Like we are a team of maybe let's suppose 30 people in my team right now. Some are from OK College, some are from IITs, and some are from very basic trivial setup. But we are also all doing similar jobs. So after a point, there is a saying called as law of averages that kind of kicks in. And so school and college are good in terms of shaping your kind of foundation, but after that you have to do your job, right?
Yeah.
So if you don't do, even you are from IIT, you will struggle. I have seen guys from IIT getting fired in my company, and I've been there. So that does not matter after a long time.
There is one more question that I want to ask. Why Bangalore? Why not Pune, Mumbai, Noida, and Gurgaon and all the other places?
That brings a smile to my face, because that's a question I think, that's an incident I kind of keep telling myself or telling my friends. So what happened after doing my college, the results were out, and I just checked around like what happens is I think we are very much of what we are around our company, right? So I checked with friends, almost half of them were going to Pune. Some wanted to do MTech and also they were going to Hyderabad. There were like very less number of people who were going to Bangalore. Or at least nobody was talking about Bangalore because there was a notion कि Bangalore में they ask a lot of English, like the interviews are in English. And back in 2005, people were scared about English. And I was okay with that. Like मेरे दिमाग में पुणे था. So what happened? With that, I had a kind of a mentor, I can say, an HOD in my college. I just went with sweets ki pass ho gaye sir and gave mithai to him and I was like, he asked out of curiosity, so आगे क्या plan है? I said, sir Pune जा रहा हूँ. His question was, शिरडी जाते हो? Then I was like, why शिरडी is coming in picture? Then I said, शिरडी जाते हो? मैंने कहा नहीं सर. तो बोला कहाँ जाते हो? मैंने कहा सर डोंगरगढ़ जाते हैं, पास में वही है. Then he said, क्यों जाते हो? I was like, माता की भक्ति है, श्रद्धा है. बोलते नहीं, सब लोग जाते हैं इसलिए तुम जाते हो. तो सब लोग पुणे जा रहे हैं इसलिए तुम भी पुणे जा रहे हो. You go somewhere else. So that I didn't get for a moment कि बोलना क्या चाह रहे हैं. Like it got me confused. But eventually what I got was he's saying don't follow the crowd, don't be the मैं thing जो कहते हैं ना.
Yeah.
So because he knew me, so he knew that I think I had potential. But जैसे कहते हैं ना कि यार तुम्हारा कोच या मेंटोर तुम्हारा पोटेंशियल बेटर देखता है,
तुम्हारी तारीफ नहीं करेगा.
हाँ, और वो तुम्हारा पोटेंशियल देखता है. And you may not be understanding it. You were like, I think I was in दोस्ती कि चलो सब पुणे चल रहे हैं तो चलो मस्ती में चले जाएंगे. So then I chose to go to Bangalore and I had a big struggle going to Bangalore because I was a very much a localite boy, haven't stepped out, going there and finding a place कि कहाँ पे रहना and all. I think this
was
again.
You were introverted?
No, I was not. I was a highly extrovert guy. But what happened कि छत्तीसगढ़ में ही पले बड़े थे तो mostly I was in here, didn't went out much. Bangalore गए तो the guy who kind of was supposed to pick me up from like station and all, he ditched. Wow. So this was a wow. So then I called him. First time he picked the phone and he said, okay, I'll call you back. And he didn't pick again. So I was like left orphaned in Bangalore station. This is 2005, 4 a.m. in the morning with like 10-15 kgs of books. Like you carry all the books that time.
Yeah.
No phone. I did not had phone that time. I thought I'll go and buy there. That was my idea. So I was calling from STD. Like there used to be, you guys may not know it, there is something called as phone booth. Phone booth. So STD होते थे. Somehow then I remembered one of the seniors and thanks to him, I just called him and he initially was not very interested to kind of have me, right? किसी को भी लगेगा ना यार क्यों आ गया सर दर्द and all that. But then I kind of literally begged him कि सर 1-2 दिन के लिए stay दे दो, then I'll find out something. Then he said okay come. So I landed at his place and that was also a struggle, taking autos charge me double, triple, taking wrong buses, getting outside the vegetable market. And then luckily, while I was staying there at first day itself, I found I had went out to go tea or something. I found a kind of a college mate. He was also staying in a hostel. So I kind of settled there.
Amazing.
And then things became easier.
That was one lifestyle that you had in the starting of your life.
One lifestyle. Like we had targets की तब क्या होता था? I'll tell you a little funny thing. We had used to have target की कौन कितने कैसे कम पैसे में चला सकते हैं आज like. So 30 rupees used to be bus pass. That was mandatory because you have to go for interviews. So we take. Then 10 रुपए के 3 डोसा आता था एक शॉप में, हम लोग वो खाते थे. And then
10 रुपए में?
10 रुपए के 3 डोसा. There is
10 रुपए में 3 डोसा?
हाँ, set dosa it is called in Bangalore. You get set of 3 dosas. It's almost like uttapam जैसा होता है. और छोटा सा एक होटल था तो मिल जाता था. And there also we used to play trick कि वो सांबर चटनी ज़्यादा ले लेके पेट भर लो. That was a struggle. And I used to live with a lot many hostel guys, so we all used to have this struggle. Even though we had money, like in back of your mind, what happens now? Papa, mummy ka paisa, you don't want to waste it, right? So this used to be our thing. Manage with minimum expenses, but we did well. I think that hostel group was really nice. It taught me. I was always a localite. The first time I went to hostel, I realized कि तुम्हारा चप्पल तुम्हारा नहीं है, तुम्हारे कपड़े तुम्हारे नहीं है. घर से कुछ सामान आ रहा है तो then
खाना तुम्हारा नहीं है, सामान तुम्हारा नहीं है.
Yeah, there was like one packet sent by my mom through somebody. मैं शाम को ऑफिस से आया and then guys are saying वो अच्छा था, वो लड्डू अच्छा था, वो ये अच्छा था. I was like, I didn't eat buddy. And then you have always have attachment for mom things, right? Like so I got angry, but then I realized this is hostel life.
Yeah, true. अंडरवेयर छोड़ के कुछ नहीं अपना होता है यहाँ पे.
I think वो भी अगर छुपा के नहीं रखता तो वो भी ले जाते हैं. Like ये भी लग रहा था.
Yes. हम लोग का तो अंडरवेयर हमारा बचा रहता है. रेस्ट नथिंग इज आर्स. कुछ भी गायब हो सकता है कभी भी. सो आज वैसे बैंगलोर में 10 रुपए में क्या मिलेगा?
बैंगलोर में 10 रुपए में, yeah, it is interesting. Yeah, 10 रुपए में, to be honest, कुछ भी नहीं मिलता. एक even if you go to the very cheapest of restaurants where it's not very hygienic, नहीं मिलेगा. इवन जो रोड साइड समोसा वगैरह भी बेचते हैं वही 15 रुपये का एक बेचते हैं. इट्स वेरी डिफिकल्ट. हाँ, मोमोज शायद कोई एक दे दे तुम्हें, मोमोज के एक खिला देगा.
सो दैट वाज वन लाइफस्टाइल एंड टुडे इज लाइक कंप्लीटली डिफरेंट लाइफस्टाइल. सो उस टाइम का क्या माइंडसेट था कि अभी से 10 साल 20 साल बाद मैं अपने वो कहाँ देख रहा हूँ, किस टाइप के लाइफस्टाइल में देख रहा हूँ?
या यूज्ड टू बी लाइक लगता था यार कि थोड़े दिन बाद कार चाहिए. जैसे यहाँ भी थे तो लगता था कि यार कार चाहिए, एक सिविक होनी चाहिए, एक सफारी होनी चाहिए.
जैसे आज के टाइम का मतलब मैं मोस्ट ऑफ देखा अपने दोस्तों को, देयर ड्रीम का लाइक एक थार हो जाए तो भाई सेट है लाइफ. उस टाइम आपका कौन सा ड्रीम कार था?
मेरा सफारी हुआ करता था.
सफारी
टाटा सफारी. लाइक बैक दैट टाइम टाटा सफारी यूज्ड टू बी अ बिग थिंग. और थार के इक्विवेलेंट जिप्सी था, बट जिप्सी वाज स्टिल ओके. मुझे लगता था बस सफारी लेना है कुछ बड़े होके. एंड दैट टाइम इट यूज्ड टू बी 10 or 12 lakhs. तब भी लगता था कि बहुत बड़ी चीज़ है, शायद हम नहीं ले पाएंगे. बट या आई गॉट माई कार इन लाइक 3rd or 4th ईयर. तब तो स्विफ्ट ले ली थी. तब लगा कि नहीं यार थार वार नहीं. तब थार तो थी भी नहीं. सफारी में टाइम लगेगा. लेट्स बाय विद स्विफ्ट एंड देन विल प्रोसीड.
एंड आज आपके पास कौन सी कार है?
आज I have BMW X3. Like I'm really proud of it and I brag about it sometimes also.
How much is that X3?
X3 in Bangalore it cost 88 lakhs.
88 lakhs. There was a time when you were like 10, 20, 10 से 12 lakh is enough, and today it's like 88 lakhs.
And this is, I think, sometimes you have to kind of see where you and what you were doing. So we had a little bit of tough in terms of money. Like बहुत पैसे नहीं होते थे. And then so I used to go college in cycle. And almost 3 साल तक मैं साइकिल में गया हूँ. Last year I think I got my scooter. पापा का स्कूटर था, वो लेके जाता था. So when I got my BMW, I did post this story saying that from 3 years in cycle to X3, the model of my car.
Amazing.
From 3 years in cycle to X3, life changed. Or I grew up, something like that I wrote. And I got a lot of kind of, comments from my friends who we used to have a cycle group, 5-6 लोग जो जाते थे. Because they knew यार कि हमने struggle किया था. तो अभी मुझे लगता है कि यार लाइफ में सच में टू बी ऑनेस्ट कुछ ज़्यादा डिफरेंट नहीं होता. अभी कभी लोग बोलते हैं कि यार इतना महंगा कार ले लिया. मैंने कहा ये सिर्फ पहला है, अभी और बाकी है. अभी एस्टन मार्टिन भी आना है, सब लेना है. लाइक लगेगा 7 साल लगेगा, 5 साल लगेगा, बट लेना है. लाइक आई एम वेरी फॉन्ड ऑफ कार्स. आई थिंक मोस्ट ऑफ द गाइज आर. And I want to have a fleet of cars. Like I have to make big somewhere.
Yeah. So we have talked a lot about good things. So I just want to know things like when you look back at your life, do you think there is something that you did wrong or something that I could have done better? I think I missed this opportunity or something, or something could I have done better?
See, I think you can't predict how life will be, right? Like, but एक part मुझे लगता है कि अगर I wish I had done this MBA वाला coaching थोड़ा सा seriously, अगर मैं करता तो शायद मे बी थोड़ा लाइफ और डिफरेंट होता. बट यू कांट नो, राइट?
यू कांट नो दैट.
सो एग्जांपल व्हेन आई टेल समबडी दिस, लाइक दे से यार कि तू माइक्रोसॉफ्ट में है या डूइंग गुड, लाइक व्हाट एल्स यू वांट. सो बट समटाइम्स आई फील कि अगर मैं भी अगर IIM वाला करता तो शायद मे बी मेरा एक पाथ अलग होता. मे बी एज लाइक इफ यू आर, आई थिंक मॉडर्न जनरेशन एंड बीइंग अ बैंगलोरियन, सबको लगता है कि तुम्हारे खुद की कंपनी होती है, एक स्टार्टअप होती है. आई थिंक एवरीबडी ड्रीम्स दैट. So it's not a guilt, but as you said, like it might have been an alternate life or like in parallel life, which is not still far away. अभी भी chance है I can do something, but I think I'm very happy and content with my life. Like I have good work-life balance. I think I make some people envy with my work-life balance. Like I write, I play DJ sometimes. Like mostly Navratri में I play in some apartments. I have some friends. I play for like 2000 crowd के लिए भी अच्छे से नवरात्रि में play करता हूँ 3-4 घंटे के लिए. I've written a book last year about I write poems, so I have published a book. I do a lot of gymming things. I recently won a national award in silver medal in national powerlifting competition. Wow. So I do a lot of gym things as well. So I do a lot of my things which make me happy. And I think professionally also I'm doing good. I feel like I'm being able to do that, and thanks to my company and thanks to my team and I can say the entire setup, I'm able to manage my life. तो वो कहावत तो है ही यार कि वो शायरी की हज़ारों ख्वाहिशें ऐसी हर ख्वाहिश पे दम निकले. तो कुछ ना कुछ तो लगा रहेगा. बट आई थिंक आई एम हैप्पी. बट या कभी कभी लगता है कि आई शुड ओन समथिंग विच आई वॉन्ट. आई कैन मे बी विल ट्राई टू डू आफ्टर मे बी 5-6 years or later. बट अभी 3-4 साल तक आई एम सेट. जॉब ही है अभी ईजी.
So yeah, as you have discussed it. So I'll come to that work-life balance. But before that, I want to know one thing. Like, if you ask any computer science students or someone from the technical background, their end goal is like बस एक बार Google, Microsoft, Amazon या Facebook पे place हो जाए, life set है. So since you are in Microsoft, you have already crossed that line, right? Yeah. The ambitious line. So what next?
See, this is where I think this is an interesting part. When you think like you have been to Microsoft and you feel happy, है ना? लेकिन जब तुम आके देखते हो यार, कभी क्या था? Like in my previous company or like previous company, I was one of the star performers there. Let's suppose. यहाँ पे Microsoft में सबको ही वैसे हैं.
सबको वैसे
है ना? In fact, they are better than you most of this. तो पहले तो तुम्हें internal peer competition संभालना है कि अगर तुम ठीक नहीं कर रहे हो, you will be killed. Like example, अगर तुम्हारी टीम में 8 लोग हैं, 7 धुरंधर है, like जो कहते हैं ना, they are all stalwarts. So first of all, you have to be honest with your job, do your job properly, so that you kind of make recognition. You have to grow also, right? So I think now my immediate focus is mostly on kind of making a mark inside my team, internally my team, and I'm very passionate about like I think since you know a little bit of coding, how we code, coding standards, design patterns, and coding principles, writing cleaner code. And less maintainable code, like आराम से कोई देखे तो समझ जाए कि अच्छा ये लिखा हुआ है, hassle free वाला. So I'm trying to take some initiatives there, and I'm trying to work with a kind of a broader audience की, even though like everybody thinks कि यार Microsoft में सबको कोड करना आता ही होगा या फिर किसी में, but still like if 50 people are coding, there will be a little bit of here and there difference, है ना? So we're trying to standardize that, and I'm passionate about it. So that is something which I'm trying to work towards in next 6 months or 1 year to kind of make that happen. And how can we use nowadays AI is coming?
Yeah, true.
Can we use AI to do that? How much influence that can have? So these things we are trying to look at. I can't talk much about internal details, but yes, this is broadly we're looking at to do that.
And since you have told that you make many people envy with your work-life balance.
Yeah.
So work-life balance बहुत बड़ा influence होता है company का भी, and the leaders and the managers. So how's the work-life balance in Microsoft?
I think it's fantastic. That's why I think I've stayed here for 6 years. Like sometimes I joke around in my team, like मैं शायद अपनी कंपनी में भी 6 साल ना रहा हूँ, यहाँ तो 6 साल हो गए. Like they have been so good. Because what happens is the push comes from leaders itself. The company is promoting work-life balance. Like जैसे I think many companies are doing that nowadays. हमारी companies में sick leave नहीं बोलते हैं. हम बोलते हैं कि mental और sick leave. Like तुम्हें एक दिन अच्छा नहीं लग रहा है, you don't feel like working, you just can say that okay, I don't feel like working today and just take off. So
really?
You can say that. I think it's not just Microsoft. Many companies are doing that. So they are not saying कि अब तुम्हें जुकाम होगा या सर्दी होगी तभी तुम छुट्टी लो. There is a mood, right? Like जैसे अभी recently किसी कंपनी ने दिया कि इंडिया हार गई तो तुम मूड में नहीं हो काम करने.
Yeah, that was a big news.
So it's not liberal as that, but yeah, you can get that. Okay, maybe you're not in good mood today, or maybe you need a rest. So my mother was not well and she was hospitalized. So even though there was no urgency, I was like, since I was free, I was trying to do some work from hospital because I was sitting next to her, laptop था तो कर रहा था. Then my manager kind of spotted me and he's like, okay, Aakash, why don't you take 2 days leave? Like so that's the kind of culture we have. It's like I have heard from people कि कुछ लोगों को परेशान करते हैं. I think may not happen in all the companies, but at least हमारे company they are very supportive and the team is very fantastic. Where they say कि if needed you take a leave. But as I was saying sometime back to you, you should not also abuse it, right? Like being a responsible human being and responsible senior engineer, they also trust you कि हाँ यार झूठ तो नहीं बोल रहा होगा, ज़रूरत है तो कर लेगा. So that's where I'll say कि work life balance है. And another part is if you had to take late night calls, I think being in this industry, avoiding late night calls is not easy. Like you have to take calls because you have to overlap with US.
Yes.
And now we work with Ireland, US and other time zones as well. So if you get really late, you have flexibility to say that ki theek hai, I'll not be available. I'll go through the recording. Like we all record meetings nowadays, and people are absolutely fine with it, unless and until you're like really critical input is required. But people do accommodate you, and that's where I think work-life balance matters. You get time for your family, you get time for yourself, and that is very important, Ritesh. I'll just close with this line. अगर ये नहीं करोगे ना, then you will be kind of not liking your job. You'll be feeling like क्यों कर रहे हैं, weekend का इंतजार कर रहे हैं. So whatever you do, I think it sounds very cliche कि थोड़ा सा वो 3 Idiots में भी बोला है ऐसे कि जो भी कर रहे हो उसको कोशिश करो कि अच्छे से रखो, वर्क एनवायरनमेंट हेल्दी रखो, अपने आप मज़ा आएगा काम करने में. इसलिए
Do you hate Mondays?
I think I'm good with Mondays.
I just asked.
It's just law of inertia कि तुम्हें लगता है कि हाँ यार Monday है, थोड़ा शायद सुबह उठना पड़ेगा and all that. But that's also I think it becomes a part of your life.
Yeah.
Hate तो नहीं कह सकता, हाँ थोड़ा सा inertia रहता है कि यार Monday आ गया. I think it happens with anybody.
Yeah,
सबके साथ होता है.
So now let's come to one of the most interesting topic of today's generation. मैं एक literally सबसे पूछता हूँ. And since you are into this industry and Microsoft is one of the leading giants into this artificial intelligence era, हमारे सबके साथ ज़्यादातर क्या हुआ कि AI अचानक से आया.
हाँ.
all of a sudden we heard about ChatGPT, like last September or October.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden there's ChatGPT, Midjourney, and blah blah blah, and thousands of AI tools are there. Were you aware about this upcoming explosion?
So see, I think I'll put an analogy to it. Like example के लिए telephone बहुत दिन से था. I think थोड़ा बहुत अगर अपने if you ask, I think if you might have been around, अचानक से Reliance है और phone revolutionary हो गया कि उसने affordable बना दिया, available बना दिया. So what I think with ChatGPT what happened is, AI is not something new or recent. Like I have done a college project in AI 2005 में.
Really?
हाँ. बहुत ज़्यादा डिटेल में नहीं किया था, बट हमारा था कि इंग्लिश टू हिंदी ट्रांसलिट्रेशन जो कहते हैं गूगल ने जो अभी किया हुआ है, वो हमारा कॉन्सेप्ट था. लाइक इट वाज अ PhD पेपर एंड वी वर ट्राइंग टू डू दैट. अचीव नहीं हो पाया, वो बात अलग है. लाइक वी डिड थ्योरी एंड थीसिस एंड डिड सम बेसिक थिंग. सो दिस थिंग NLP AI हैव बीन देयर फॉर लॉन्ग, एंड आई थिंक आई एम नॉट श्योर, बट आई थिंक दे हैव बीन फ्रॉम 80s, not 1980s or something, the concept wise. But as I just said, ChatGPT ने उसके साथ इतना मेहनत करके APIs करके उसको इतना पब्लिकली अवेलेबल करा दिया. Now if you just type something and it gives you answer, and which even for an experienced guy like me, it amazes कि यार ये कैसे इसको इतना पता है. So what it is doing is basically it is learning from all the models. I think you might have read that. It is learning from whatever we have written past, like last जितना भी उसके पास data है. So again I'm telling you, AI is not new. ChatGPT made it popular by making it like publicly available to everyone and easily available, right? I think it's not completely free. I think if you just hit 10 queries or 12 queries, I think it
gives you a cooldown.
हाँ, cooldown कहेगा. I think, but yeah, that's where I think it makes a big difference. And now there is another analogy to this. Like कि जब fridge आया था, and I'm saying this to make it like sound more related. लोगों को लगा कि यार फ्रिज आ गया है, इट विल चेंज, क्या करेंगे इसका, क्या चेंज हो जाएगा. बट इफ़ यू सी फ्रिज आने से किस किस को फ़ायदा हुआ? कोका कोला को फ़ायदा हुआ, पेप्सी को, बिकॉज दे कैन स्टोर लॉन्गर, चिल्ड कर सकते हैं. आइसक्रीम कंपनीज को, दे कैन रेफ्रिजरेट, नाउ आइसक्रीम कैन बी सर्व. Then you have like frozen products,
vegetable vendors and everyone.
So AI is a concept which has been like refrigeration is a concept is there. Now how you use it is up to you. Like people are using it for writing code, people are using for doing very trivial tasks like generating a PPT, generating an image. So I'll say, I think let's say this correctly. It's not a AI, it's generative AI which has picked up right now.
Yeah.
Generative AI is like you just give some basic English commands and it does the job for you. Earlier AI was like थोड़ा programming करना पड़ता था. अभी तुम कह दो कि take a picture and make me Spider-Man, some of the apps will make you Spider-Man. And I think they do such a great job, you'll feel like, wow, कैसे कर लिया.
So, since you have opened ChatGPT and you work in Microsoft, so I'm going to connect the dots.
Okay.
Sam Altman got fired from OpenAI, and then within few days, Satya Nadella made an announcement like Sam Altman is back. What are your thoughts on this? Why did it happen? Why Microsoft? Why not Google? Why not Amazon or other giants?
See, I'm too small a pond to comment on that. Like I think whatever is available on web, I think we all have the same knowledge. Like there was obviously some disagreement, and this happens with many other companies. And since Microsoft is heavily invested in OpenAI, I think if you don't know, I don't know the exact percentage, but we are invested and we work with OpenAI on kind of co-pilots and other things. So I think it made true sense to like hire a talent like that in the company. But I think with the time he has given to OpenAI, I think the board realized that okay, this is a kind of a prospect, we should get it back. And I think I don't have the internal details, but I think Microsoft won't stop somebody from pursuing what they had started. So I think that might have happened. But yeah, as I said, I am nobody to comment on this. I just read on web, and it's like I think outside my confidentiality agreement also to talk about all this.
Okay. Yeah. Understood. So no confidentiality is breached here. So
yes.
A lot of people who don't know much about AI, like they use it in their daily life and they see it like a boon. Like it can do my works in minutes and everything. Is there any dark side of AI?
Definitely. I think, see, one of the easily kind of common things people think about is it might take my job. But I think this is one of the interesting things which was discussed in our leadership also. So AI is a tool. Like if you example, take a tool, it can help you to do a job faster, or maybe if 4 people are doing it, might like require 1 people to do it, but it can never replace humans. So first thing is that like when people say कि AI से हमारी job चली जाएगी, नहीं, you also learn AI and see how to use it. So that's one of the darker sides which people see, but it's not a big darker side. The darker side is AI is what? It learns from what your behavior, right? It's biased. So what you're training is very important. So if you're giving wrong training and wrong data, like if it is getting a wrong model, then it can be dangerous. Like a simple example, if you're writing an essay example, and if you're feeding it like a lot of cuss words or bad words, it will start writing in that because it does not have intelligence on its own. It works on the data. So I think AI is as good as your kid, right? Like if you have like a nephews or nieces or something, हम बचपन में बोलते like सब बोलते हैं ना कि ये तो माँ बाप से सीख रहा है या अपने सोसाइटी से सीख रहा है. So that's where the culture or the society or the background is very important. So the right controlled AI is very important. I think I'm still not a big person to comment on that, but I think industry persons are speaking that it might change and there is a dark side to it. But I think it's more on the positives than the negatives, I feel. We have to use it.
Understood. Like एक मेरा personal doubt था that I wanted to ask. Like the AI models that are working on right now, they get information from the internet only, right?
Yes, yeah.
So suppose there is a SEO expert, right?
What expert?
SEO expert.
Okay, search engine.
SEO expert, and he writes an article or blog or anything, and he just posts it on Google, and it ranks on the first page or something. And if I'm finding a specific information from there only, so according to the AI model, it should look forward to the articles and the current publications that are there.
Most of the AI trained models, they are trained on kind of little back data. Like example, it may not be fetching it very recent data. Lot many I'm saying. Like mostly the OpenAI libraries, they have
not
some
updated
cutoff.
after 2021, I guess.
Yeah, they are some cutoff. Like I think with modern, like I think that's a very small gap which people will be fixing. They'll be trying to make it real time. But I think there is a reason not to make it real time is like then you don't have the validity of the information. They might want to kind of see if this data is accurate or not. Otherwise, it will start kind of getting biased very easily.
That's what I just said. SEO expert can write any rubbish and AI can use it as a reference and give you a false information.
So I think that's where I'm still not an expert, but I think there is efforts made to kind of keep it a little backtracked, or I can say stale data or intentionally. And there is a lot of now as we are speaking about AI, generation is one part, right? Like now there will be like security, how to monitor it in a kind of a policing. I can say policing it in kind of a policy wise. That those are the avenues which will open up. So that's I think I'll say a boon of AI rather than kind of a disadvantage. And frankly speaking, I don't have much expertise to exactly comment on that part, so I'll just maybe try to skip it for now.
Yeah, and actually I've also read it somewhere, like if an AI can completely take over your job, then that job was not meant to exist in the first place itself.
Yes, yeah, I think so. Like example, even if we use AI right now, example, I think the most common will be write an email, right? Still, before sending it to your principal, let's suppose I'm saying you want to write an email for leave application. You will not send it directly, right? Maybe he has written to John, whether your principal's name is Samir, for example. So those type of, still there is a manual kind of intervention required. You can, train enough to make it smart.
Smart enough.
You can, so we say that we can use it, AI, to do the mundane jobs, like which are very boring sort of job. Maybe like you just want to send a marketing lead mail where you don't have to worry about the name and all. You say, can write a marketing mail for like 30 people, send it to 30 people with this address. So that's where it is useful, but still a human is required. And I think you're absolutely correct. It's not that key, it will take away human's job.
And if it does that, then that job was never supposed to exist in the first place.
I think Ritesh, again, still I'm early to comment on all this, but see, there is always a growth of technology. Technology will be growing, right? Like, so if you can't say ki, अब Uber आ गया तो ऑटो नहीं चलेगा, ऑटो आ गया तो रिक्शा नहीं चलेगा. Like people have to. So what has done? Like if you take a very layman's example, those auto guys became the Uber guys in like Banglore. Yeah. Those the Uber guys, like the taxi drivers, they aggregated. So then there will be platform which will be aggregating all this. So there will be
upgraded themselves.
Yes. So you have to upgrade. Yes.
Adaptability
so the people
comes into this.
Exactly. I think that's where your guy was trying to interview as well.
Yeah.
You have to be adaptable and flexible to pick up new technology.
What an amazing session it has been. Like we have discussed a lot of things, like your college life, your struggles, and then the luxuries, and about Microsoft. So a lot of students will be also watching it, and obviously their dream is to be into some companies like Microsoft, Google, and Amazon. And a lot of students are there. Even my friends will be watching it, who are from tier 3, tier 2, tier 3 cities. What should be your advice to them?
See, if you're a college student, I think I'm not saying anything new which I have not said or like not been told in web. I think the people are pretty smart nowadays. So DSA is something which is very important to learn. Like I think 70 to 80%, I think it's hard to put a percentage. Companies will ask you around that. Then there are like very niche technologies, like as you were mentioning that guy, you may be a web developer and kind of a smart web developer, right? So maybe you'll not get hired or called by Microsoft, but yeah, that can get you a job in startups and all. Like most of the startups, they want you to just immediately cash you, while these companies will spend time in kind of invest time in kind of training you and all that. So my take is, whatever you're doing in college, do it properly. There are a lot of DSL kind of, I think multiple YouTube channels are there. I think you can pick. I used to follow one of them. I can send that. I think I share with you sometime. So that has got good playlist and you can go through it. So DSA should be there. And as I was saying, even if it is 2005 or 2025 or 23, your communication has to be apt. If you're not able to explain what you're doing, you may not be able to kind of convince the interviewer that, okay, you know this. So technical rounds you may be able to convince, possibly, but if you're going system design and then you're trying to talk about all this, if you're not able to express, they may not hire you. So keep your communications apt. English is one of the tools, but yeah, if you're able to express in Hindi also or your native language also, might not work, but try to be communicative about what you're kind of feeling. Rehearse a lot, like even if you're going for an interview, try to rehearse a lot. That what you're trying to say, maybe write it down. This is something I kind of tell people.
Joel, one more thing. Do they still ask the same question that they asked when it comes to this communication interview? Do they ask questions like, where do you see yourself in 5 years, or these cliche questions?
The idea here is not to kind of check your what exactly do in 5 years. Nobody, to be honest, cares about what you do in 5 years. They just want to see how your flow of thoughts go. And I think as we're doing podcast, right, it is most of a conversation. What you say, then it will bring the another conversation. So like example, if we talk as like household people, what do they talk? Okay, what vegetable you ate? What did you eat at home? That's a starting point, right? Like that's you start conversation. So it's like they say something which you should be knowing, but they want to gauge like, okay, you do have clarity. I think one important aspect is they want to know, do you have clarity or not? Example, you're appearing for interview. It's stupid to say that after 5 years I see myself. Let's suppose you went for TCS. And sorry, not TCS, let's suppose any company, and you say I want to be in Microsoft or Google after 5 years.
They're going to just reject you right away.
Yeah, it's not ethical to say, right? Like even they know that, okay, after 2 years we may change, but just don't say it. So say more like, I think you will see in internet, and a more responsible role where I lead team or kind of do better roles and all that. So don't be stupid, like don't be over smart to say all those things.
True.
So that's a simple thing you want. I think that's where they catch it, like what you want to do in 5 years.
They know the reality. They just want you to be not to be brutally honest, but at least give us your career goals.
And also, I think one of the things which I learned is like what I see is nowadays a lot of Instagram channels tell you what very scripted answers. Don't do that. Like I'll tell you, be honest. Be honest, but don't be stupid. Like I think there is a mix. There is a subtle difference between that.
Don't be brutally honest.
Brutally honest. Yeah, right. Like say don't say that. So example, some people say, okay, what is your weakness? So don't say that, okay, I'm very good at finishing things early. Like, so that's a very stupid answer to give in my opinion. So you can say a genuine weakness that, okay, example, everybody, even like the biggest leaders, have issues with time management somewhere. So you can say, I think I can do better at time management. Use constructive words like, I can do better at time management than what I'm doing.
And not to degrade ourselves. But I can do better at this.
Always use this kind of positive words. I think I have scope to improve on maybe my, as we said, like AI learning, right? Say something that is kind of, you're saying that is weakness, but you're working on it. There is a solution to that. Don't say that, okay, I think my English is not good. That does not make sense.
You're not interested enough to just improve it.
Yes. So I think you got the gist. What I'm trying to say is always leave a scope for improvement and be honest.
Yeah, I know that corporate psychologist, like, his name is Abdul Wahab, and the way we had a conversation.
They are misleading people. I think when I see I have interviewed 6 companies, like I've been in 6 companies, plus interviewed many companies. So I have given interviews and taken interviews. I know that those scripted answers don't sell.
Don't work. They don't sell.
Like people will not be looking at all those scripted answers.
They will know which answer is sugar coated and which is the true answers. They know. You can't fool them out.
Prepare yourself. Right? I think this is one of the mantras I got from one of my coaching leads was, any interview is not tough, Aakash, as far as you're prepared. Like example, if you go to exam, you have a basic notion कि 60-70 तो आ जाएंगे, 80-90 is like bonus type है ना, तो थोड़ा prepare करके जाओ. अब तुम एकदम भगवान के भरोसे जाओगे तो थोड़ा दिक्कत होगी. Like you might be just lucky at one day. So थोड़ा सा पढ़ के जाना चाहिए and prepare रहो.
You can't get lucky in Microsoft.
Yeah, you definitely can't get lucky. Like 6-7 rounds में तुम lucky नहीं हो सकते. एक आध 2 round में lucky हो जाओगे, चल जाएगा. Yeah, but can't get. That's why they do 6-7 rounds.
So I believe that's one of the best podcasts I would say so far that I have had with you, and like really amazing insights. How you got into the depth. You shared some interesting insights how the system actually works, what people actually look forward to, what are the do's, what are the don'ts. And I don't think so like people talk about it a lot. Like you can find answers in bits and pieces, but actually you came here, you shared your own experiences and everything around that. Was really great to have you, Aakash, and I really hope forward to you get to that Aston Martin part, and I just want to see where the future takes you.
When that happens.
So that was Aakash Soni, senior software developer from Microsoft Bangalore. And so thank you so much, sir, for appearing on this interview, aka podcast. Looking forward for more, and hopefully we'll catch up very soon and with a lot of new knowledges and a lot of new experience. So stay tuned, more new episodes are coming forward with amazing people like Aakash